Alright folks, welcome back to another budget gem or budget bust. Today I have got an amp from a company I guarantee you almost none of you have heard of. This is the VE Audio VD600.1. These are distributed in the United States by a company called SPL LAB. This is the USA distributor for SPL LAB. You know, they're the ones that make these mini bass meters that a lot of people are picking up. That can read their decibels as they go. A lot of cool tools that they produce out there. They're also the USA distributor, or one of the USA distributors for tar amps or tear amps, whatever you want to call it, as well as Alphard. So they do a lot of stuff in the country, and this is a line that they had that I don't think has gotten a lot of attention. In fact, I know it hasn't gotten a lot of attention because I've talked to one of the people that work there, and at one point they just, you know, over the summer they said, hey, you know what, we're just going to put these on eBay, no reserve, let's see what they do. And that is where I come in because they put it at like a no reserve auction. They started at like 30 bucks. These are normally like 280 bucks. And I picked up a pair of these for like 50 bucks each. And ever since then, I also got an 80.44 channel for again like 50 bucks, and they're 100.4, which you'll see coming up on this channel eventually. And that one I picked up for like 80 bucks. They will not sell you one of those for those prices. They stopped doing those no reserve auctions because I was buying them all up. Because I had a lot of faith that this would be a good amp. I heard them talk about them enough to where it's like, those guys are legit. I'm sure this amp is legit, and let's check it out. So, we're going to check this out. I heard these are SQ amps. They don't really fall in the budget arena, as I said, but you know what? I thought it was cool. Let's see what this thing is all about. So, let's just jump right into it and let's unbox this bad boy. Okay, opening her up. And I get some Allen keys. And an amp. Unboxing over. That's it. Okay, well, let's see what I can find out here. Okay, well, here's an amp. Pretty nice brushed black aluminum design to it. Feels like a very nicely built amp. I can't believe there's no owner's manual or bass knobs or anything. There are specs here on the side of the box, so I'm not completely worthless of information here. They're actually pretty detailed specs here on the side. And if you do go to SPL LAB, they do have a full range of tests that they did on here. But I guarantee you no one's going to be able to read this, so I'll just tell it to you what it is. It says right here, 4 ohms mono power at 1% THD. They say it's 370 watts. The amp is technically rated at 300 watts at 4 ohms. And 600 watts at 2 ohms. So I think that's at 1%. They do that. They see at rated power at 4 ohms, 0.059. So at the 300 watts, you get very, very little THD. Dampening factor at 50 hertz 4 ohm, 10 watts, 635. So if that means something to you, there it is. Signal noise ratio. At 300 watts, at 4 ohms, 109 dBs. Very nice. And of course, it has the size 197 by 146 by 50 millimeters. That's an interesting one here, but I'm American, so screw your millimeters. I'm going to use the hand meter of an above average size man, and yeah, this is really no bigger than my palm here. So it will fit anywhere. Okay? So, very nice. Let's check out the sides of the amp now. Along this side of the amplifier, we find our power input terminals as well as our speaker output terminals. These power and grounds are 4 gauge apiece, and these speaker outputs are just about 10 gauge. You can see here I have a couple of 10 gauge wires, and they're going to fit in there easy peasy. Along this side of the amplifier, we find our RCA inputs and outputs, as well as our gain, our low pass filter, bass boost, which you might as well just leave off, and our remote output. A couple of things about this. Number one, for a mono amp, I really would have liked to see a subsonic filter. In fact, I would have preferred that over these set of pre-outs here, but they don't give us that. And the amp did not come with a remote bass knob, so I didn't see where it was offered anywhere, so that might be something to consider if you're thinking about this amp. Mine, and I bought 2 of these, and neither of them came with a remote. Nice thing though, these RCAs are Tiffany style, so very, very high quality, which is kind of a hallmark of this amp. This is a very nicely built amp when you get it in your hands. Alright, I got the cheap Chinese screws off so we can check the amp guts here. And I don't know if you can see this, let me zoom in here for you. But this is not a cookie cutter board in here. This looks to be a full bridge style design amp. The one thing you'll notice, this is what kind of makes it unique. There are no MOSFETs along the side of the amp. It does look like there is maybe one under this heat sink here, maybe, but I can't tell. I'm not taking it full apart in here, but it's definitely not a cookie cutter design. So for $280, like they're trying to tell you should pay for it, unlike the $50 that I paid for this, you're getting your money's worth in a unique design. The caps here are, they're typical Chinese Yescons. You're going to find Yescons in everything from a Rockville amp to a Rockford Fosgate amp. So, just don't be afraid of a Chinese capacitor is all I'm trying to say. They're all 105 degrees. They're 2200 microfarad, 63 volts from the looks of it. This screams full bridge when I open it up, but it's a very, very high quality looking board. There's no it just doesn't look sloppy. It looks like it was put together with some care and some love. So very unique design. I'm kind of digging this. I can't wait to see how this performs on the amp dyno. So, all right, nothing left to do here but to strap up the VE Audio VD600.1 up to our trusty amp dyno and find out just how much power this tiny, tiny amp actually produces. Are we looking at an overrated amp? Are we looking at an underrated amp? I'm not sure. I saw the guts. I'm thinking we're going to have an underrated amp here, but that's why we do these tests. I'll see you after we're done. All right, folks, I got to show you this here. So I just concluded all the tests, and I got an interesting thing going on with this amp. So normally whenever I turn off the power supplies, and you can see the voltage right there on one, everything goes dead, unless I have the batteries hooked up, which I don't in this case. that's not what's happening right now. So all my power supplies are turned off. I've got two, 100 amp power supplies right here, and I've got another one over there that's another 100 amp. All of them are turned off. My batteries are not connected. You can see there's no fuses connected up to the fuse block. The only thing that can be powering all this right now is the amp. So the amp has got some type of storage in it for DC voltage. You can see here I'm sitting at 10.3. My head unit is still on. Whenever I turn the power supplies all completely off, those act as the on-off switch for my head unit. But since there's power coming through that connection, I have my head unit still on. In fact, I could still right now, I could still play Bluetooth. So let me just hit play here. The amp itself isn't playing because the voltage is too low. You can see here it's in protect mode because there's no power going into it. However, the amp right now is powering this head unit. The dyno is turned off. Oh, the dyno used enough power. Oh, look at that. The amp is trying to turn the dyno on. The dyno has sucked enough power out of the amp and now it's dead. I mean, that's crazy. Okay, final thoughts here on the VE Audio VD600.1 amplifier. First, is it a gem? Is it a budget gem? Or is it a bust? Obviously, it's not a bust. We saw the ratings. We saw how it performed in the amp dyno. And this is a gem. Whether it's a budget gem or not really depends on what you can pick it up for. The map pricing on this amp is like $279. As I mentioned earlier, I picked this thing up for roughly $50, which I thought was a steal, so I bought two of them at the time, which I don't think they really liked that I was able to get that cheap. I think they thought their eBay listing was going to get more attention than what it did, but it is a very, very nice amplifier. And even at $280, if your budget is that, and you really only need 600-700 watts, this thing is awesome. It's super compact. It sounds amazing, and again, it's super efficient because it has that internal voltage capacity. I mean, you saw it. It powered my head unit by itself, where other amps just dissipate power. So it's holding charge as it goes, which is a good thing for when you listen to music. So, I wouldn't compare this against like an audio pipe 500 or 600 watt amp. I'm thinking more along for this amp. If you were thinking of like a Rockford Fosgate Power 750 and that's your budget, don't overlook one of these. It's definitely not a cookie cutter amp. You saw that in the amp guts. It is compact. It's built amazing. I've never seen an amp built like this. So I'm impressed. Again, before we get a lot of comments, $280. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I mean, that's a hard one to justify for a 600 watt amp. But I mean, if you've got the money, this is all you need. Don't overlook this amp, man. I like it. I like this amp a lot. I'm gonna find some way of using this amp. So that's it for me, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I got a ton of amps still to test, so I'll see you next time.